When Adidas dropped the new X Ghosted, we all had to wait a month to get our hands on them. And today, the wait is over, which means that you can now finally get not only the X Ghosted Plus and the X Ghosted.1s, but Adidas have actually also dropped the X Ghosted.2, the X Ghosted.3, the X Ghosted.3 laceless, and the X Ghosted.4. But since choosing between 6 boots ranging between 55 to 280 euros can be a little bit confusing, today I'm gonna help you and take you through the differences and the tech of all these boots to help you find the best option in terms of what you can and want to spend. Of course, you've probably already seen the X Ghosted Plus, which is the top of the line laceless model, which naturally also makes it the most expensive at 280 euros. And that's a lot of money, so you can say that you do pay a premium, but what do you get for that money? Well, for starters, Adidas have developed a new upper package that they call Mirage Skin, and basically it's built with 3 layers: an engineered mesh on the inside, then a textile support layer in the middle, and finally a silicone coating, a protective layer on top. Then you have a 4-way stretch spandex mesh tongue to give you this really tight laceless sensation, and then you also have a really thin and almost see-through heel counter here with a couple of pads in it to hold your foot in place and give you a little bit of lockdown. And basically this new upper construction means that Adidas will give you what they call a vacuum fit in the Ghosted Plus, which gives you, and it actually works, gives you an extremely tight sensation when you put your foot in and actually makes a small sound as your foot squeezes all of the air inside of the boot out. And that is a pretty unique experience that I haven't had in a boot ever before. But the biggest innovation, in my opinion, on the X Ghosted Plus is the Carbitex insert in the forefoot that is a little bit curved and gives a bit of a toe lift in order to put you on your toes and make you a bit more ready when you're pushing off. And also, it gives you a ridiculously responsive and very aggressive snapback when you're pushing off. And I don't think it's unfair to call it the most aggressive and responsive outsole out there at the moment when it comes to speed. Now, in general, this is probably also the best fitting laceless boot at the moment. It's 189 grams, so it's very light and it feels super fast. But also the upper is a little too stiff and creases up too much, in my opinion. But if you want that really super fast looking, sleek fitting, very one-to-one sensation, and you just want something that looks ridiculously fly, you can do a lot worse than the X Ghosted Plus. It's cool, but it's also a lot of money. Now, if you're into the concept of saving money while still getting a top-of-the-line product, there is also the X Ghosted.1, which, spoiler alert, is also my favorite of the entire new X line. But this thing is 195 grams. It's gonna set you back 230 euros. Those 230 euros also buys you the very same wicked outsole as on the Ghosted Plus, only in a slightly less blingy and flashy execution. But that doesn't really matter because you still get the Carbitex insert, you get that curved toe lift, and you get the very same stud configuration. So let's instead look at the Fluoroskin upper package, which is made with this wired mesh and silicone top coating construction. And while it's not as premium or complex from an engineering point of view, it actually feels a little softer and more flexible than the Mirage Skin on the Ghosted Plus, meaning that I also feel it's more comfortable simply because you don't get the pressure points when the upper creases up. And I also feel that it just follows the shape of my foot a bit more closely. Of course, you're also getting laces on the .1, which will obviously offer better support and hold in the midfoot and thus better lockdown than in the Ghosted Plus. And there's also this 4-way stretch mesh tongue that doesn't crease up as we saw on the X 19.1 for an overall better, more sleek fit. And in fact, my only real letdown on the Ghosted.1 is the heel package, which is a lot less nice and awesome, and it gives you a less streamlined fit than it does in the Ghosted Plus. But overall, I really think that the Ghosted.1 is a significantly better, more comfortable and better performing boot, which also means that I would only really recommend you to buy the Ghosted Plus if you really want that laceless look or the translucent feel. Because as I said before, the Ghosted Plus is cool, but the Ghosted.1 just makes a lot more sense. Now, Adidas really wanted to continue the concept of translucency, so that's exactly what they did on the X Ghosted.2. This bad boy is 215 grams and will cost 130 euros, which also means that Adidas had to find 100 euros somewhere to save, and it shows. But with that said, it's actually still a relatively nice boot for the money. See, Adidas have developed an upper package that they call Speedskin, which is the same name as we know from the upper on the X17 Plus. But to be honest, these two boots have nothing whatsoever to do with each other, so let's just forget about that. But what Adidas have done on the X Ghosted.2 is to have a textile-based mesh on the inside, and then they have a matte silicone coating. And the closest thing to describe it would actually be to call it a slightly more plastic version of the Nike skin seen on the Hypervenom Phantom 1, because it's thin, it's relatively soft, it sits close to the foot, and it's actually a nicer upper than I had expected for 130 euros. But with that said, it's also a little fluffier and less tight and rich and premium than the floral skin you see on the Ghosted.1. What you also get is another 4-way stretch tongue construction that's pretty nice, and as you can see, you get a lace cover in order to give you the benefits of the laces from the Ghosted.1, but also the look and feel of laceless from the Ghosted Plus. And it's up to you to decide whether you like that or not. What you don't get, however, is the Carbitex insert and the toe lift on the outsole. It's simply a standard TPU outsole, meaning that it's not as stiff and responsive as on the Ghosted Plus and the .1. But you do, however, still get the same stud shape and configuration, so that's at least something. And of course, the fit itself is also a bit wider than it is on the Ghosted Plus and .1, meaning you won't have the same really sleek and sculpted and vacuum-like fit. It's however also going to be a little bit more relaxed. And if you can live with the cost savings, such as the cheap-ish insole and, let's be honest, the cheap-ish heel construction, I actually reckon that this is decent value for money because of that upper. But mentioning value for money was actually a pretty nice transition into the X Ghosted.3, which is 80 euros or 90 euros if you want the laceless model, and it is a 201 gram boot. But the funny thing is that compared to the X Ghosted.2, it's actually very, very similar. See, the upper is still called Speedskin, and I guess that's the case because it's more or less based on the same construction. So it's still a textile mesh based upper, but it's a little bit thicker, it's not as soft, and it feels slightly more plasticky. And obviously you won't also get the same amount of translucency as you do in the X Ghosted.2. The tongue on the .3, however, is more or less the same as .2, and you won't get the lace cover, whether that's a problem for you or not. And actually, the TPU outsole here on the .3 is the same as on the .2, except for the fact that the studs aren't translucent. And that's actually more or less it. So in other words, you're getting a football boot that is very close to what you get for 50 euros more in the Ghosted.2, but in an execution that looks slightly less awesome and with a little bit of a thicker, less soft upper material. But again, saving those 50 euros, I actually reckon that this could be better value for money, even though the Ghosted.2 is a better football boot. So the laceless Ghosted.3 is made with the same Speedskin upper and has simply just had the laces removed on top of this, you guessed it, 4-way stretch mesh tongue that does, however, have silicone on the inside to give you a little bit more hold and stability, because after all, it's laceless. Now, usually the .3 laceless boots from Adidas have been questionable in quality, but while this is nowhere close to the fit or performance or overall value of the Ghosted Plus, I reckon for a .3 laceless boot, it's getting better. It's going in the right direction. So is the Ghosted.3 a premium, wicked, streamlined, lovely? Well, no, absolutely not. It's a takedown, but I reckon that you still get a little bit more than what you pay for. And that's gotta count for something. And finally, there is the X Ghosted.4, which, well, at least it looks a little bit like the other X boots, but basically it has nothing whatsoever to do with them. See, this is just a textile-based upper, and admittedly it's not stiff or anything, but it's just full of foam, meaning that it is a lot thicker than the other uppers, and so, you can kind of see it for yourself. And I guess it's alright for people, especially young players, who need that foam to get the comfort and the protection they need. And if you're looking for a boot that is built relatively solidly and looks like it has good durability, well, you could put your feet into these. But they're also gonna feel chunky and slightly heavy, and probably wouldn't get them. So, which one should you get if you're still in doubt? Well, get the X Ghosted.1. It's, in my opinion, the best of the bunch. It's a fantastic speed boot and the one I would recommend everyone to go and buy. But for you bargain hunters out there, I also wouldn't judge you if you go and buy the X Ghosted.2. But which is the Ghosted boot for you, and what do you think of the whole concept? Well, as always, let me know in the comment section right down below. If you have questions, down below as well. And then you can of course go and buy the entire X Ghosted range via Unisport.com right over there. Also make sure you've subscribed to the channel before you go with the notifications on, and then you can go and learn some wicked football skills to show off on the pitch in your new X Ghosted in the playlist right down there. With that said guys, I'll be signing off. Cheerio.